Eric Kabera, who is a cinema pioneer in the country and founder of Kwetu Film Institute in Rwanda, joins us now for more. Eric, I've been to the Kwetu Film Institute, and I have to say, sad story coming out of this, eh?
Not very, I mean, not sad story as such, but Kwetu is the leading film and television school in Rwanda, and probably in the region based on the connections and the networks we have and the kind of pool of talents that we produce year in and year out. So I think, you know, we're still at it.
Right. Let's talk about the fact that what I just alluded to earlier, that there are no nominations from Rwanda. What does this say about the country as a whole? Is there more to actually be expected maybe in the next 5 years?
There's a lot to be expected in the years to come and even now, because what it is like it takes a lot of time and a lot of money to make a movie. And in most cases, it's not only in Rwanda. You find less and less investment actually to put into a short film or documentaries or a feature film to speak of. So, and the African Movie Academy Awards, for them actually to come into Rwanda and Kigali in particular, is actually to ignite the appetite of the young filmmakers whom we have been training and all the men and women who have been into this trade, so that they can actually start celebrating cinema within the continent. Because most cases, most of these young filmmakers, whenever they make a film, they go either, they take it to Berlin, they take it to, Toronto, or many other international film festivals, be it in London and Canada and so on and so forth. So now there's a new movement actually to start celebrating cinema on the continent. Beside the Pan-African Film Festival out in Ouagadougou, I mean, we have the Durban in South Africa, and we have our own, the Rwanda International Film Festival, that has been running for the last 14 years. And for AMA to come in and to engage with the local talents, I think that's part of the trend. The fact that there are no local filmmakers that sort of submitted, I think it's all to do with awareness and engagement, and the fact that they're here, I think that's what we lead up to.
Eric, there's this notion that for one to be a great actor on the continent or a good film producer on the continent, they have to travel abroad. I'm hearing an accent when I speak to you. I take it you've been to maybe California yourself. How do we change this narrative and promote our very own actors and movie and storytellers, away from the movies, our own storytellers?
Indeed, I mean, that's the raison d'etre, that's the essence of actually creating a film and television school on the continent in Rwanda itself. Because we know, I mean, it's across board over, over the continent. It has always been the British guy, the French guy, the Belgian guy, the Canadian guy, or the American guy who comes and actually make these great stories out of the continent. And in most cases, they come with the money, they come with the equipment. So it's literally up to us, the African continent, the African states. I mean, it's gradually happening. We're engaging with the Ministry of Sports and Culture. Rwanda is actually being looked at as the country where will be the destination of the creative industry. So many countries on the continent needs to look at this as a tool of export as well, because we don't have to go to the French, to the Swiss to get the money to make our movies. So trends are changing, but of course it's going to take some time for the next 3 to 5 years for this to take hold. And movie is not an inexpensive business. It's really expensive. So for various stakeholders and the private sectors to get engaged into this, it's needed to, it needs to be done.
Eric, this is an issue that hurts me very dearly, because if you go through some of his highly grossing movies, from Last King of Scotland, where you have Forrest Whitaker, to Madiba being played by an American, to I could go on. The list is actually very long. When it's actually your prerogative, people in your shoes, to push our own actors to be acting in these roles, what are you doing on that front?
Thank you very much. It's a relevant question, and it actually goes back again to the same questions of how do we build resources. It doesn't start with the actors. I mean, there's a lot of film industries. It is a huge collaborative effort, so it requires a lot of effort. You need technicians, you need soundmen, you need cameramen, you need actors, of course, but you need great screenplay. And even storytelling is a technique, is an industry. I mean, in Hollywood, if you go there, people are busy shopping for screenplays. And I mean, it should be the status for us to say, like, what is the next screenplay that is going to be shot? What is the next big story? Or what is the story that needs to be coming out of these places? And in most cases, I mean, I'm becoming like, a preacher myself into this trade, whereby people needs to ask you. I mean, my last documentary I made, he was, a gentleman from an embassy, an international embassy, says, like, what are the projects that you're working on? And I've been working on for this project for the last 3 years. And then I have to be him. It's like, we like that. We can co-finance it. And these are the kind of discussions that our local entrepreneurs, stakeholders in the government and other places should be embracing. And kids, who are doing this trade, do not need much. They just need a little bit of an encouragement. Nowadays, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. In the old days, it used to be millions of dollars. I mean, you can still invest millions of dollars in a movie, but you can still make a great story with, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, and even below. And we have these stories. I mean, I had the privilege of meeting Forrest Whitaker when they were shooting Last King of Scotland. Some of the young men and women who were actually trained at our school went to Uganda and worked. So we have all these pools of film training institutes. In Kampala, we have Maisha. Here we have Kwetu in Nairobi. We have DocuBox. We have all these small pockets, but who are individually laid, I'm afraid. But I think the trend will change because the technology is changing as well, and we can only hope for the best, because in this industry, it's tough everywhere anyway, be it in Los Angeles or Toronto or Cape Town. It's tough. It's a tough business. So you just have to have a little bit of hope and a little bit of a push. And then we'll start seeing our actors. But of course, they have to be acting things that are being created by the screenwriters, the directors, and the producers.
Eric, I like where you're going with that and your optimism. Let's talk about Nigeria. A few years ago, maybe 20, when Nollywood was actually coming to the picture, we were wondering what or how good Nigeria is at this. Oh, sorry. I was wondering, what do you think of Nigeria? What lessons can we learn?
I can't hear you.
Right. I was actually asking, what lessons could we learn from
Unless if you're talking
Nigeria?
about Nigeria, I mean, we can talk about Nigeria for a long period of time, because Nigeria has been one of the leading, television and digital film industry on the continent for the past 20 years almost. But at the end of the day, it's competitive within the continent, but it hasn't really been competitive internationally at the global stage. I mean, if you talk to a Nigerian director, say, like, you're not interested in the Oscars, or you're not interested in the Palme d'Or, they do it, it's like a do-it-yourself kind of spirit. So in a sense, I have a lot of respect for the Nigerian film industry.
Right, Eric, before I let you go, you're on a TV and film school. What tips can you give me?
I mean, we do it yourself kind of sort of spirit. I mean, equipments are getting cheaper, but you have to still learn the trade. I mean, now we're actually talking about the science in the movie business. I mean, if you see like movies like the Terminators and Avatars and all, there's a lot of science involved. And in most cases, these days, once you talk about filmmaking, a parent will say, like, there's a kid who cannot go and do sciences, just take him and then I'll see what he's going to become. It's not the case. Filmmaking is a very, very intelligent process. And I think we just encourage, parents to send their kids, to our school or to other schools around the world and celebrate Hollywood. That's the film industry in Rwanda, and celebrate Nollywood and other filmmaking initiatives around the continent.